Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Chinte talking. Today we're gonna talk about how to protect the fleet. The fleet that I am currently rank 1 with. We're gonna talk a little about the pros, the cons, what are we good with, what are we not so good with, and we're gonna talk a little about how we fare against other fleets. So if you're looking for a more overall perspective of the game, this video might not suit you, but if you're looking to get that in-depth knowledge about how the Tau can be played, or rather how I play them, feel free to stay and listen to what I have to say about them. First of all, let's talk about the strongest point of the Tau carrier fleet, which is the torpedoes, the fighters, the bombers, or ordnance. This is the main source of the damage that we can produce with the Tau Protector carrier fleet, and is also the way you're probably gonna win the game. The second positive thing about being a Tau player is the amount of escorts you can bring. If you take the custodian battleship as your flagship, you can get up to 5, because we get 3 for free while just bringing the custodian. For a Tau player, the escorts do one more thing than the usual backcapping and scanning for enemies that it does for every fleet. And that is that the escort ships act as buff ships for us, which I'm gonna cover in just a moment. The third thing about the Tau Protector fleet is we are one of the best fleets at mid-range fighting. Our fast shooting weapons pull up a great DPS numbers when we are at this range. And with this range I mean around the 9k range. Do not mistake this for a brawling fight where the enemy tries to ram you and get behind you and stuff like that. No, I'm talking about around 9k range fights. We are doing fairly well. So now when we have covered all the positives and strong points of the Tau Protector fleet, we are going to move on to the negative sides and what Tau Protector fleets suffer most from. The first one we are going to talk about is ramming. Ramming hurts a Tau Protector fleet so much. It can devastate our entire ships. So watch out for those fleets that like to ram. Imperial Navy for once like to ram, or Tyranid also, some of them. So my first tip here is to avoid ramming because it hurts us so much. The second negative side for the Tau Protector fleet is that we do not have a lot of hull points, so prolonged fights is not our strong point. This means that in brawling fights where the enemy actually doesn't stay at medium range is one of our weaker states, so watch out if the enemy wants to get close to you when you're playing the Tau Protector fleet. The third weakness you will see if you're running the same fleet that I am running is our lack of boarding. First of all, the fleet that I'm running does not have the usual lightning strike that a lot of other fleets have, which is a huge disadvantage sometimes. And generally our boarding actions are not as good as they should be. We do not have that good troop efficiency. The fourth and final negative side of the Tau Protector fleet is the morale issues that we have. Tau suffers a lot from morale, so if you're trying to go up against the Tau Protector fleet, you'll probably want to go for the flagship first to bring the morale down to the bottom. But if you're playing as a Tau Protector fleet, you need to make sure that your flagship survives, because if the flagship goes, you're probably gonna have to either execute or watch your other ships run away. Now when we have talked a little about the positives and the negative sides of the Tau Protector fleet, we are now going to look at my main fleet, and more accurately the Tau Protector carrier fleet. So first of all, the flagship, the big custodian, which brings us a lot of hangar base, torpedoes, and also, one should not forget, the gravity hooks that brings us those 3 escort ships that I was talking about earlier. The Custodian is a real powerhouse in my opinion. A lot of other players do not think it is as good as it is, but I would not run without it. Another great thing is that the Custodian can take that extra punch that a lot of the other Tau ships can't take. And since Tau suffer from morale issues, having an extra tanky flagship is a great idea in my opinion. Next, moving on to the line ships, we have 1, 2, 3 Protector for 199. The reason why I'm taking the 199 instead of the 197 is because of these double-barreled heavy railgun artillery, which gives us 2 attacks and more chances to crit, compared to the 197 that only has 1 attack. So I want as much crits as possible, and that is why I'm running the 199. And to fill up those extra points that are left, we take 2 Castellan cruisers, just to get those extra escorts, and also the Castellans have missile launchers. So this is the main fleet that I have been running with, and it's worked fairly well. Now we're going to talk about the passives and the actives. What I think are the better ones and which ones you should not take as a Tau Protector fleet. This is solely based on my opinion. You can of course try something else, but this is my experience that these actives and passives work the best. First of all, the probe is most likely the best tool we have. The reason for this is that the homing torpedoes, which is the main source of our damage, stop being homing if the enemy can hide. So what we can do with the probe is deny him an asteroid field or a gas cloud to hide in. So I highly recommend that you take the probe. The other active choice you should take is either the repair drones. Even if they are not optimal, they actually bring a little bit of healing which you can need in a brawler fight. Or if you're feeling accurate, you can also take the railgun shot. The tooltip is wrong. It does 300 damage in game, but it's very hard to hit with, and if you're not experienced, I would rather recommend that you go with the repair drones. Another thing that you can go is the disruption bomb to take down those shields, but in my opinion you're better off taking the repair drones or even the railgun shot. When it comes to the passives, there are only one that I think is mandatory, and that is the experimental thruster manifold. Tau ships are generally really slow, so we want to have that extra speed so we can get out of ramming situations or run away from torpedoes, or even catch up with some fleets that try to run from us. So this passive is a really good passive. The other passive I recommend is the targeting coordinator. A lot of people get this talent wrong. They think that only the escorts get this buff. What it does is that if you have an escort with the lock-on stance in range of your line ships, you get the extra accuracy on all those line ships, which is a great way to increase DPS early in the fights. So I highly recommend this one. Other passives that you can take is the strobe field. If you're running a little more kite fleet than I do, this is a great way to dodge and just try and not get hit as much as you can be. For the main fleet, the watercast diplomacy doesn't do anything. Warrior breacher team, we are not relying on our boarding actions. Emission dissipator can be good early in the game, but since we're not running a silent fleet, I wouldn't recommend it either. And the other ones, ion cannon. We only have 2 ion cannons on our flagship, so it doesn't affect a lot of our weapons, so I wouldn't recommend that either. And that concludes what I think about the active and passives. No, it actually doesn't. I have one more thing to say, and that is, whatever you do, do not take the gravity wave projector. It looks nice because of the ramming meta. You can deny those ramming, but the thing is that it does not push the fleet far away, so it ends up doing absolutely nothing. It does not work as intended in my opinion, and I do not recommend it in any way. So now we have come to the part where I want to show you in game how we play and how we set up. I am currently playing against the computer. This is because I want to take the time to talk, show you how I play generally when up against the fleet. So first of all, you noticed when you come into the screen, you get the shows between two warfares, the Cayenne warfare and the Montka warfare. Now this is important, and whatever you do, do not forget this. The first rule of Tau Club is always select Montka. This is because of the Cayenne gives us exceptional as long as we stealth. Two things. We are not going to be stealth for long with these fleets set up, and also we are already getting the exceptional accuracy with our passive, so we are completely gonna ignore the Cayenne warfare. But the Montka warfare says that as long as a ship is marked, you raise your critical chance with 50%. So we're gonna go ahead and select that.
Montka, the killing blow brings the enemy's end.
So what does it mean that the ship is marked? Well, as you can see, we have 5 escort ships over here, and if we take one and go down to the command field here, we have the scanner. The scanner, if you pinpoint a ship under the scanner ability, it gets marked. So as long as we mark our ships, even after we reveal them, we're gonna get extra critical chance. This is why the custodians are good, because it gives us 3 more to scan with. So what I like to do first is that I select my wooden ships and put them at the side. So I'll take everyone and put them on the side. These 3 warden I usually go running silent with, and then I take a look at the battlefield. In this scenario we have a lot of points over here, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all my ships, drag them out over here, get a perfect line over there. There we go. Now, a general thing that new players do to this game is that they just let that flagship be on the farther left here. What I'm gonna do is I take one of my protectors and put the custodian in the middle, because I want to make sure that it's not identified as the flagship right away. And also, if he's running torpedoes or something, we get a lot of turrets from the side. So next up, I move up my escorts, one on each side, so I'm absolutely positive we're gonna get that passive. So 2 things I'm gonna do with the escort now is, first of all, put it in a lock-on stance, and also put it on front facing with weapons. This is because if it's on broadside, it's gonna go around and might possibly even intercept a few of our torpedoes, which is devastating. Anyways, we're gonna do the same with this one. There we go, and lock on stance. Now the rest of the fleet, you got 2 options. You either go reload or lock on. If you're up against an Elder fleet or a Kaiden fleet, I recommend you go lock on straight away. But in most cases, I go reload and stay in reload. This is because I want to get as many torpedo volleys and bomber volleys out before the fight even begins. And also, when it comes to mid-range fight, reload is a huge DPS increase by itself. Anyways, I'm gonna select those ones and put them in group 1. Now, I take a look at the battlefield again and try to place my escort ships so they can cap points, which is fairly concentrated on this map. It's gonna take a long time to set up things. That's just how it is with the Star Protector fleet, but we seem fairly ready here. So we're gonna go ahead and press ready. So we move them up. Take a look. I'm gonna slow down. So now we see we have those over here. What we're gonna do now is not send the probe up here. We're gonna save the probe, but we're gonna scout with these two, with the fighters. If I didn't have these guys, I would spread my fighters out to occupy turrets and get more turrets down. But now we're just gonna take everything on those two to make sure that they actually get there. Gonna move up everything, capture points while we go. Never forget the points. The points are important. So we're gonna speed up a little bit to get this party going.
Aircast ready for orders.
And also you can see the amount of ordnance we can produce by our line is quite impressive. Gonna get one down here. Probably gonna lose this one. The fighters in our arsenal is not the best.
You have seized a strategic area.
Gonna move up a little bit. We're not gonna be overly aggressive until we get more information. Information is key as a tile player. You want to see what they have. Okay, now we see. He has a cruiser, Gothic. So we are going to engage a little more fighters. And now comes a very important part. I'm gonna pause here and talk a bit. This volley of fighters, why did I launch them? Well, the thing is, as soon as I launch them, I'm going to start counting. I'm gonna count to approximately 4, and then I am going to fire a volley of torpedoes. So let's go ahead and look. 1, 2, 3, and 4. The reason why I'm doing it like this is because I want my torpedoes to be guarded by the fighters. And also now they are going to engage these fighters before they engage the torpedoes. So the torpedoes has a lot more chance to actually be hitting the target. We move up the line a little bit, keep our escorts with us.
You have seized a strategic
We're gonna take a look about how much damage we can actually do. We're gonna speed up a little bit. And when the torpedoes comes close, we're gonna slow down. And now, as you can see, since it's a computer, he's not dodging them. So it's gonna take the full brute force of all our torpedo on the volley. And take a good look now, because this is where a main source of damage comes from. As you can see, we almost one-shotted the entire flagship, which is a cruiser. And that was just the first volley. We have 3 more volleys. So we can send out a couple of fighters, and we can take the next volley on that ship. Now, we don't want to use another volley on this ship, because we can just take that in a straight on fight, because we only have 160 left. So we did over 1,400 damage on one volley. Gonna keep on moving up. We have no problem engaging. And now, if it were a player, he could run to that gas cloud. So what we're gonna do is deny him that gas cloud by putting the orb there. Now the computer doesn't think like that, but if you're in a fight against a player, you should be able to, or should rather do it. As you can see, the second torpedo volley almost one-shotted that ship also. And we have our last volley, which we can take on that one. And the bomber's gonna finish that off before the fight even begins. We can take a little shot on railgun on that one. And as you can see, it's not a lot of damage, but it is damage. Now comes the Monka. Moving one ahead.
Aircraft ready for orders.
And you can see the torpedoes are still doing work.
At your orders, Koro.
Move ahead a little bit. And now it's getting marked. And our entire line is firing on that one place.
You have seized a strategic
Now he's supercharged his shield. We change target.
Gravitic drive engage.
Now we can change back because the shield is out. As you can see, it takes a time, but we are working.
Drones have identified an enemy target.
Deck damaged.
Drones have identified
You have accumulated 25%.
As you can see, I haven't lost a single ship. And now we move up the next one to get another crit buff up. To maintain the crit buff is so important.
Drones have identified an enemy target. The patient hunter gets the prey.
Also, we can get a new bomber squadron out.
Be done, Koro. Reserve the combat drive.
Keep another crit buff up. Just keep on rolling that crit buff. Its amount of damage we get from the Kayun is really what we need.
Reserve the combat. Aircraft ready for orders.
We can take our next escort over here. And we can decap that point also. Not that we need it, but just for showcasing good gameplay.
At your orders, Koro.
Also, we can repair.
Drones activated.
As you can see, the regular damage, it takes a lot. But now we are in the mid-range combat, as I was talking about earlier. And you can see we are doing fairly well. We've been in much more pain if he tried to go in and brawl with us. But this range is where the Tower Protector fleet is doing fairly well. Also, we have new bombers. We should be able to have a little crit buff. There we go, marked. As you can see, we've almost beaten down the Grand Cruiser, and he has barely beaten our protectors. Got a mutiny, so we can change the other one.
At your orders, Koro.
Just keeping everything marked.
Teachings of the order. We serve the combat. The Ethereals guide us.
And waiting for our ordnance to come back. And also make sure that we don't hit our own stuff. That is one of the things with the Tau ships. The design is really bad. You need to really watch out so you don't mess it up by hitting your own ships. They are so wide, so they tend to do that if you don't take notice of them.
The enemy has accumulated 25% of strategic points.
At your orders, Koro.
And you can see he did not have the fleet advantage because of my torpedoes in the early game. Took down pretty much every one of his ship.
Strike the killing blow.
There we go.
How may I serve?
And that should be game.
You have seized a strategic area.
There we go. A little showcase about how you should play. There's always tricks and stuff like that, but the thing is, the computer can't kite, doesn't know how to. So you gotta watch out for those kiting, because kiting the torpedoes in the beginning can really be an issue. But if you get those long range torpedoes in before the fight even begins, you are in a good place. That is my idea about how you play Tau carrier fleet. In the beginning of the video I said I was gonna cover all the other fleets you can run as a Tau protector. But since this video has been on high demand and a lot of people have been pressing me to do it, and I don't have the time to cover all the other fleet setups that you can run, I'm gonna release them another time. I hope you enjoyed my tutorial or showcasing about it, and also picked up a few things. I hope this video really helped you about how to think as a Tau protector player. I really do. If you were looking for more overall information about the game, I have one person I want to recommend you to go and watch. I'm going to post the link to his YouTube channel. This person is Erzik Hydra. He is a wonderful person. I have had a lot of laughs with him and also played a little with him. So if you're looking for more general information about the game and want to see a great player, I highly recommend him. So if you're watching this, please also click the link. And also, I'm gonna do like every other YouTuber. If you like this video, put a thumbs up. Say to me if you want to have more information like this about the Tau protector fleet. And that is all I have to say, my dear friends. So thank you very much for listening to what I have to say. If you have questions, post them in the comments or visit my Twitch page while I'm streaming. I will put a link on that too. But if there's nothing else, have fun with this great game. This is Chinte. Have a great day.